Introduction to Networking. It's Wednesday. Have a little bit of snow and ice. We did a little review of some basics. We looked at packet tracer, the jobs lab. We looked at that. We talked a little bit about computer science. Talked a little more about that a little bit. And we really didn't add anything to the security, but we will talk about that as we move through the course. Talked about internetworking operating systems, and we covered some of the basics in terms of configuring a device. And I remind them to make sure they keep working through the curriculum. Talked a little bit about students gave us some input. I call it real skills. I actually get that from Seth Goggin. I talked about being on time, attendance and all those things, being reliable, having problem-solving skills, and there are a lot of things. We talked a little bit about bringing value to whatever you do rather than just doing the task. I talked a little bit about where students start out at. You have to be willing to do small tasks in order to do big tasks. People aren't going to give you responsibility here until you can show responsibility here. Also, we talked a little bit about the time to get your degree. If you decide to get a 4-year degree following your 2 years of NIAC, it might take you a few years. Or it might be an idea you get a job, and then you come back and get your 4-year degree, and then go back out and work. But I guess you should never think there's just 2 years and you're done. Even though it could be. Lots of good jobs to be had with a 2-year degree. We did some work. We talked about, we have a shell that we work through that talks to the kernel of the operating system, which communicates to the hardware. We either have a GUI or a command line. In classwork that we do, we work primarily from the command line. In the long run, it's probably faster. We use it, you can learn better how the device works, and in some cases there's some things you just can't do from the GUI. So, iOS, let me underline it right here, and we talked a little bit about the hardware. We have memory, we have NVRAM, non-volatile, we have flash memory, which the iOS is in. I don't think I mentioned that in class. There's a processor in there that does the processing, and then there's a like a motherboard, and everything communicates. We configure the running config, and then we copy it to NVRAM as the startup config. If the device restarts, it loads that startup config back into RAM. And we can move configs from one to another using commands, command line. The students finished up. They did 2 things. They did some configuring on switches in the classroom. They configured some of the basic stuff on a switch. They each had their own switch. Then we had, and yeah, I should show this too, we did in class, they assigned an IP address to the virtual interface and also assigned the default gateway. Okay. And we're gonna work some more on those on Monday. And we had some standalone switches, and they worked at consoling into those from the computer and configuring those. And that's it.